excited to be here. Yo, listen. Hey, welcome to the church. You feel me? Welcome to the church. Boy, I'm all excited, man. And I'm sitting back there, and the great thing about going last is you get to see everyone else, and man, y'all inspire me. What about the worship? The worship's sick in here tonight, man. I got a crazy crush on this new kid, right? He didn't take your place, John, wherever you're at. I kind of always had a crush on John. John Finney is so hot. Hey, the funny thing about it, y'all are laughing, but y'all are like, man, my name is Phillips. Listen, it is a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I get really loud, so I apologize for that. I'm so excited about being here, and I was thinking about this, and I know, listen, and I wasn't going to do this, but I know we've mentioned Sydney's name a couple times, and let me tell you this right here. Here's the thing. This is not this is in memory of Sydney. By the way, I love the shirts. Y'all looking good? This is in memory of Sydney, but this is not about Sydney. You feel me? This is about you. This is about where you're at. And I'm going to tell you, right now, Sydney is not up there going, oh, she's going, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This had to mean something. It had to count for something. And here it is, church. There are a lot of churches in here tonight, and nobody's claiming one. You feel me? This is the church tonight. It's so exciting, Cody. It's so exciting. It's so exciting in the back of my neck. Oh, God, I'm telling you. Hey, good word, by the way. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody. Listen, in the back of my neck keeps pushing this thing off of me, but whatever. Okay, so I have two kids, and they're both here tonight. And right now they're looking at me, and I'm not going to look at them because it'll hurt. But I have a daughter named Sydney, and is it okay if I stand up here? Because I move a lot. And she's 13. And listen, here's the deal. Don't judge me, okay? I'm going to say a lot of things tonight, and nothing I say can you judge me on. Deal? One of them is I love to shop. Yeah, no, quit. I love to shop. And it's kind of funny, I guess, because part of the enjoyment of shopping is trying to find stuff big enough for me. My wife's like, oh, bigger. I always say I'll never have less than 2 X's on my shirt. But we might add a couple, you know what I mean? But we love this shopping, so we spend a lot of time in the malls, and we hang out, man. And my wife and I, like a date night is, man, we go to dinner somewhere and we shop. And sometimes dinner is the food court. You know what I mean? Because nothing better on the planet than a sketchy Chinese food place, man. Hey, what's a fried biscuit? Anyway, but we love to shopping, so we go shopping all the time, man. And so this one time we went shopping. It's really funny. Y'all remember the shoes Heelys? All right. Whoever invented Heelys, I want to kick him in the liver. But other than that, Heelys are cool, man. So whenever somehow my daughter convinced me to buy her a pair of Heelys. And it was really worth it because she wore it like a time and a half. You know what I'm saying? And so, but this one time, I'll never forget this. Why we let this happen, I don't know. By the way, I asked John how much time I had before I got up here, and he told me. And it's always it's always good to know you're gonna go late before it actually happens. So just get ready. And so, anyway, so my daughter bought these Heelys, man, and I'll never forget. For some reason we let her take them to the mall. We were at Bay Brook Mall, and one thing that is a little annoying as a parent is when your daughter's like 8 and she starts outsmarting you. You know what I mean? And that's not good. But this one time she wanted to wear Heelys to the mall, and so we were like, "Why? They're not even comfortable to walk in. You know, you walk like, you know what I'm saying? Some of y'all had them on." And so anyway, so we let her wear these Heelys, man, and I'm ADD, so just be ready, okay? And so let her wear these Heelys, and I figured out why. Because the whole day, she didn't take a step. Not one step. Hey, this microphone's driving me bananas. Because I got a fat neck. That's just the way it rolls. Can I just grab one of these? Why I got to be short stand? Hey, I always want to be like a musician and just go. I see Randy do it all the time, and it's really cool. I just did. You see that thing? That was hot. Clearly, I'm not John Finney. All right. John Finney like in 6th grade. I mean, not as cute, but the same size. So anyway, we're gonna be here till midnight. And so anyway, so we let her wear these heelys. And what happened is she never took a step, y'all. I'm not kidding, like we would go eat, right? And we'd like walk up to her and I'd let her go and she'd like sit down, never step. And so I figured out early why she wanted to wear heelys. And so, but it got to the point where it became a game, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just hold on, let me pull you around, like I had this little trailer behind me, you know what I'm saying? It got to the point where what we'd do is, she probably remember this, she was little, that we'd go, and I would go, and then she put her feet up, like extreme heely, you know what I'm saying? And the kiosk in the mall, which, if you're on a kiosk in the mall, don't let me offend you, but those things are weird. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I saw one the other day that had a cell phone cover that would hold a bowling ball. I'm like, what the heck? Does that mean if I drop a bowling ball on my phone with that on here? Anyway, okay. But it kind of got on my nerves after a while. Not the bowling ball, Sydney. Holding onto my arm and me throwing her. And it was fun, you know what I'm saying? It just kind of got old. And so I'll never forget, we were in the store. Aeropasta, whatever it's called, all right? I didn't know, because every time I say it, somebody goes, ha ha ha, and I'm like, I don't even know if I said it wrong or not. Anyway, so we're at Aeropastel, and we're standing at the checkout deal, and Sydney, surely she's not standing beside me, because I dropped her off at the pit row over there somewhere. But she's standing right, and my wife was checking out, and I said, Sydney's driving me nuts with these stinking heelys. And y'all, what I didn't know is she had taken a couple steps. She probably got a push from somebody, but she ended up behind me. And I just said, she's driving me crazy. And when I said that, I turned around and blessed my little 8-year-old Sydney's heart. I'm looking at her right now. Hi, do I know Felix? But she looked up at me and she said, Daddy, you don't want to hold my hand? Oh, bull. I hold hand for 8 hours, for God's sake. But y'all, there's something I realized at just that second. And as I look back at that story, there's something I realized. And that is that although maybe that's something very small to me, at least for that second, I let Sydney down. I let her down just for a second. And it wasn't a huge deal. I just didn't want to slingshot her through the kiosk anymore. But I let her down. You know, I know about being let down by daddies. I do. I grew up with a single mom. She was wonderful. She was mommy and daddy. She's like 5 foot tall, 5'3" with spikes. She's got this weird spike haircut. She's awesome. Yeah, then woohoo for the spikes. Woohoo. But we're all let down, aren't we? Is there anybody, raise your hand if you've been let down before by someone? It's a lot of hands. And if I were to start a line right here and say, what we're going to do is, anybody who wants to come up on stage and talk about being let down, we're going to start the line right here. It would wrap this place 3 times. Because everyone gets let down. And being let down is not fun. It's not fun for anyone. And it seems like being a teenager, you're even let down more than most. Because as life sort of changes and shifts and adjusts, sometimes those shifts and adjusts and changes are not graceful. Sometimes they're tough and they're things that you have to deal with. And sometimes along the way, there are things that you have to deal with that that let you down. That's a tough place to be. But unfortunately, it happens to all of us. I came across a poem. Can I share a poem with you? It doesn't really matter if you say no. This is from a 15-year-old girl. It says, I've got some time to kill until I'm not a teen, but being my age is harder than it seems. Although it's always saying, oh, you kids have it so easy. Oh, please, you have no idea. You make it sound so cheesy. All the social pressure, yeah, we make it look like a breeze to steer through the popularity ranks. But do you seriously believe that the peer pressure is bearable? Oh, less than you think. Sex, drugs, alcohol, the fight's a ship that's about to sink. Even being a Christian can be so hard nowadays. They say things like, oh, it's not cool. And it's not just some cheap phrase. You say we don't have to work for food and the necessities of life, but we have to deal with people. And that can cut like a knife. I don't think you understand. Actually, scratch that. I know, because if you could get it, your respect for us would grow. It's so hard dealing with the pressure. Doing what's right is so much harder than it seems. You have to polish your reputation, clean it up until it gleams. But underneath, there's so many dirty lies that cover up the ugliness that this generation hides. Just beneath the surface, and all sins of all of our peers, and sometimes it's hard to realize. God can fix all this. The young woman's poem is insightful, isn't it? And it's heavy of adult people letting it down in her life. But there's even a little hint of her letting herself down. And I love that it comes full circle at the very end. It's a very important thing to remember. She writes, sometimes it's hard to realize that God can fix all this. And listen, students, I find myself sometimes wondering the same thing. Can God really fix all this? And part of the reason I feel like that sometimes is because sometimes I feel like God is the one doing the letting down. Where is He? I mean, this is a God that's supposed to love us, that's supposed to take care of us. And I spend my time, the 41-year-old youth pastor, saying, where's God right now? Because sometimes when we want to see Him the most is when we can't see Him at all. We'll talk about that in a minute. And even if I'm not, I'm sorry. It sounded like someone just jumped in the bathroom. Did y'all hear that? I'm ADD, things like that rock my world, dude. Like a frog. Anyway. There's no frogs in this building. Sometimes, even if I'm not blaming God, sometimes what happens is the enemy takes the focus off of my relationship with Him and puts it on people that the enemy has put in my life to help me forget that God is in control. So it's not that I forget about God. Sometimes I just put things in front of Him that blurs my vision. But I'm going to tell you one thing about your relationship with God tonight. And that is that it's the only thing that will never fail. It's the one thing that remains constant. You know, some pastors try to get that long pause to make everybody think about it, so they can get a drink. I'm just going to drink. I told you, don't judge me. Who's God to you? Who's God to you? Because here's the interesting part about how I feel God works on us. Excuse me. God doesn't want you to figure out who God is to us. God does not want you to figure out who God is to us. God wants you to figure out who He is to you. Because who He is to us may be completely different to who He wants to be to you. God has this unbelievable purpose for you. And I don't care how old you are tonight. I don't care what part of your life you're in. I don't care what you're doing. God has a very special purpose for you, specifically, individually, that could be different, or probably is different, than everyone else in this room. And He wants you to find it. But you have to figure out who He is. Is He this old man sitting on the clouds working joysticks trying to make your life miserable? Is He the great, powerful Oz? Is He intimidating? Is He a punisher? I will tell you this. God does not want to be a punisher. God does not want to be a threat. God does not want to be intimidating. God wants to be daddy. That's who he wants to be for you. He wants to be daddy, that one thing that never goes away. And he's a daddy that won't let go of your hand. He'll chuck you on some Heelys, man. He doesn't take a break. And I'm going to tell you, if you're in this room tonight, maybe life stinks. Maybe life stinks. And if that's the case, if you are struggling, I want you to listen real close. Maybe you've never met Jesus. Listen close. Maybe you've been a Christian for years, and for whatever reason, your faith is sketchy. You listen. I heard it said the other day that living a life of purpose is the purpose of life. And when all this goes away, when all this is said and done, who are you? That's a tough question to answer. When all this goes away, when everything that defines you at this moment goes away, who are you? Sorry, I'm yelling. I'm really not. You may get used to it. Ain't nobody going to sleep, I'll tell you that. I want to read something to you. It's in 1 John. 1 John is a letter. And it's different than a lot of the letters like that Paul wrote, because this is a letter that is not written specifically to a church. This is churches in general who are struggling with their relationship with Jesus. John wrote this. This is what it says. He says, the one who existed from the beginning is the one we have heard and seen. We saw him with our own eyes and touched him with our own hands. He is Jesus Christ, the Word of life. The Word. He calls him the Word. The one who is life from God was shown to us. And we have seen him, and now we testify and announce to you that he is the one who is eternal life. Listen. He was with the Father, and then he was shown to us. We are telling you about what we ourselves have actually seen, and about what we have heard, so that you may have fellowship with us. And our fellowship is with the Father and with his Son, Jesus Christ. Now listen to this. I love this. This is so exciting. He says, we are writing these things so that some manuscripts say, your joy will be complete. And then he says, this is the message he has given us to announce to you. God is light, and there is no darkness in him at all. John is saying, I'm telling you about a Jesus who is real. I've seen him. I hugged him. I've heard him speak. We are not telling you about some fantasy dude. We are telling you about a dude that walks the earth. This is a real guy, and in him is no darkness. I want to pay attention to the first line first. He says, we proclaim to you the one who existed from the beginning. Now, who is we? The apostles, the ones who knew Jesus, who walked with Jesus. Second, he says the one. The one is who? Jesus. Then the verse says that Jesus existed from the beginning. It refers to creation. Any early Christian at that time would know Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then they would know, that was Genesis 1:1. And then you would know John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, the Word was God. And he referred to Jesus as the Word. So he's looking past, y'all. He's talking about the past. And he said, Jesus has always been here. He didn't just pop up. He's always been. And then check this out. Then he said, the next thing we need to notice is John uses, he talks about his personal experience with Jesus. He said, I have heard and seen and touched. And those words are very present, real, physical words. He's talking about right now. John says, I have heard him. I have seen him. I have touched him. He's a man. So he talks about the past. And he talks about the present. Guess what's next? He talks about the future. And this is what he says.